All right, Rob, let's get into it. Last night, Joel Embiid continued what I I gotta be honest, it's just a fantastic season. He is playing the best basketball I've ever seen him play. And last night, Rob, against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were playing the best defense in the league and are one of the best teams now, at least record wise, Rob, he put 51 points on them, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 assists, and shot 17 for 25 from the floor in a 14-point victory. And it's just been, that's really just a sign of how well he's been playing. He's leading the league in scoring at 35 points a game, almost 12 rebounds a game, 11.8. That's the second best of his career. Career high, Rob, 5.9 assists, dimes. And he's doing it on 54% shooting. And ESPN, you know, they do, Tim Bontemps, one of their writers, always does polls. I think he does 3, Rob G, is it? 3 a year leading up to the MVP voting. And it's substantial because he polls 100 media members, most of them who have a vote. I have a vote, but I'm not in this poll. And 63 of the 100, Rob, voted for Embiid. Of course, remember, Embiid won it last year. Controversially, some thought Jokic should have won. And Embiid looks like he could be headed toward his second one, at least now. It's still early. Things can definitely change. But right now, he's the front runner, at least according to this poll, and I think it's legitimate. And I want to ask you this, Rob. Last year, I voted for Embiid, and I was one of many people that was disappointed by his playoff performance. He had a great regular season, not as great as this one. He averaged 33 points, 10 rebounds versus 35 and 12 this year. But in the playoffs, Rob, that 33 points dropped to 23 points. Those 10 rebounds, I mean, he was close. He was 9.8, 10.2 to 9.8. But his field goal percentage went from 54 to 43. And they, of course, didn't go very far in those NBA playoffs. They got beat in the second round, 7 games by the Boston Celtics. He missed a couple of those games. And so, Rob, I would ask you, do you think his performance in those playoffs and the fact that some people thought he won last year, maybe when he shouldn't have, do you think that should or will affect the voting? Maybe should and will affect the voting this year.
It shouldn't, but the way that they voted last year with and I'm not saying that he wasn't in the conversation or he didn't deserve the votes. I mean, obviously there were people who thought that he won, but there was a narrative about the Joker last year. Oh, well, he can't win it 3 years in a row. LeBron didn't do it. Michael didn't do it. But look at his postseason. You know, like right. It was that whole narrative, right. And it shouldn't count, but it did. And then I think if people really, and then for the Joker to go and have the postseason, one of the postseasons of the ages, Chris, like just destroyed the postseason.
Right.
I think people looked back and said, I think we might have missed this. Like we were so busy and caught up. And the year that he actually had this great year, you know what I mean, Chris, where he was a shy away from, what was he, a half a rebound away from having a triple-double season.
Yeah, and he had, you know, he's toyed with that before. Like the year before, he actually won it the year before, as you said. That year he was, last year, you're right, he was close. He was 24.5 points.
Right.
12 rebounds, 9.8 assists. So he was 2/10 of an assist away from averaging a triple-double. And this year, Rob, he's 9.3 assists. So he's like, 7/10
right
away from averaging a triple-double.
So yeah, we got my point.
And he has to be in the race, too.
Right. But last year, I think that people got on to that. And, you know, when he got hurt at the end, he missed some games. And so people went away from him. And I think that they're going to take into consideration, depending on what kind of season, what their record is, Chris, what happens with Philly. Like the thing that could hurt Embiid to me is getting off to this hot start, right? And these numbers, Chris, if you can't maintain them, it'll seem like you're going the other way, even though that they could still be good numbers. Like his numbers are so big, 35 a game. By February, it could be 30 a game, or you know what I mean? Like it could, and it still would be a great season. Don't get me wrong, but I think that could hurt you a little bit as well, where they're so high. But it should be based on what you do during those 82 games. That's really what it should, and not factor in what you did, what you're going to do, all that. That's why we have the finals MVP for those people who make it to the postseason and can win a championship. Those people are rewarded as well. So I think.
Well, you know, Rob, I think they should actually award the regular season awards before the playoffs begin, because too many people do get it mixed up, right? And they, like you said, some people after what Jokic did in the playoffs and what Embiid did in the playoffs,
they were right.
We're thinking Jokic should have been the MVP. Well, he was the finals MVP, and he would have been the playoff MVP had they had one, but this is for the regular season. And I just think they should hold a show on TNT where they announce all the winners, and you've got them remotely for interviews. I think it'd be great, just like they do the All-Star game, but it'd be even better. Because then, Rob, people wouldn't even if people know technically it's a regular season award, when you put the award out or announce the winner in the Western Conference Finals or whatever, people get mixed up. And so I think that's how they should do it. But look, I'm a voter, as you know, and I do. Obviously, the season is a huge part, but it's not. I don't do it in a vacuum, because I think Michael Jordan, Rob, how many years straight could he have won it? You know, that he played. I mean, maybe he could have maybe won 10. LeBron could have won more than 4. And I just think if I think history should be a part of it. If you didn't just give it to Michael every year because he was the best player in the world for 10 straight years, then you shouldn't give it to Jokic or LeBron or Steph or whoever is the best player. And if somebody else has a stretch run for 7 straight years, because then, when you compare guys, it's skewed. That's my view. Everybody may not share that view. But I think in this case, Rob, Embiid, first of all, he's playing so terrifically. His team has a better record than Denver's, with Jokic. But also, if he were to win it this year, it's only a second straight. You're not talking about a 3-peat. You're not talking about a 4-peat. And I don't, like I said, I weigh lower on the list might be something like playoff performance. Like if he were to win it this year, Rob, and then next year, in the playoffs, same disappointing performance, then that probably would play a role in how I felt the following year. If he were going to get 3 straight, but he bowed out in the second round.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People could have that feeling now, though, Chris.
They could, right. They could.
Right, all coming off of last year.
Yep.
And go, yeah, okay, yeah, I've kind of seen him play well during the regular season, but I'm not convinced that, you know what I mean, he's going to play well. So that's the tough
They
part.
might not cut it at 3, where I was cut it at 3.
And what if where are they record-wise in the East? Where are they ranked?
They're in 3rd, but they're only 2 games out.
Right.
Boston's first, Milwaukee's second, 1 game out, and Philly's 2 games back in their 3rd.
So, like where they are now and the way he's playing, I just think there's a chance that numbers could go down and their placement might dip. And I think that'll change people's minds, too. They already know what he's doing, which is pretty incredible considering
Denver's interesting, Rob. I think they're doing what they're playing well. They're 19-10, 3rd in the West.
But still, they're not trying to get the best record. They're not trying to kill themselves.
And that has an impact. Remember when LeBron was his second go-round in Cleveland, he wasn't trying to win 60 games. And that impacted because their team didn't max out in the regular season. He didn't win any MVPs. And that could, happen with Jokic. If their team, finished 3rd or 4th in the West, people look at that as, they didn't go all out, So it'll be interesting.